Here's a question. Why are you guys all the way in the back?
Dude, I swear to God, that was going to be my first question.
Because I want people to move up to the front. Fill in this hole. If you're comfortable there, sit there. It's okay. We'll be serving beers back there.
We were playing Rain and Blood before. I tried to get a circle pit, but
that's going to work here.
These guys were down. These guys wanted to do it. But then I realized I'm 48, and I'm like, circle pit, I don't know.
We could fuck up all these chairs real quick.
I don't mind. Listen, I don't mind if we do. Christine's like, hold on, let's just fucking calm down over there.
These are an easy break. Easy break.
Yes.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
Shit, I remember that.
We trashed the place.
We did. They let us trash their house.
They told us to, and then they paid for it. MTV paid for it.
Yeah, we did a lot. We really broke up stuff. We saw in the house. We saw in the house. When they gave us a song, we saw in the house. It was great. Good times. Oh, my youth.
Guys, round of applause. And,
Hey, don't try, guys. Thank you, right?
so guys, the way I'm going to work this, I'm going to ask a few questions, but I really want the bulk of the questions to come from you guys. Hopefully you guys came with some questions that you want to ask Andrew, right? Because that's what it's all about, getting you guys to ask the questions you have in your head. But I'll kick it off. I myself come from a musical family and was lucky enough to have a brother 10 years older than me who went to prison and left me his Kiss records. So that was kind of how I got into music. Listening to Ace Frehley's big guitar sound on Kiss Alive 2 made me realize that I wanted to play guitar. And then honestly, growing up a huge horror nerd, comic book guy, listening to Anthrax is what made me want to join a band. So it's really all about those influences. Let's start off there. Scott, who were your biggest influences? Who turned you on and made you say, fuck, I want to do this. I want to be a musician. I want to play music.
When I was in jail, my brother came and brought me a bunch of Kiss records.
Those are my brother's Kiss records.
I mean, I got into music really young. My parents were into not shitty music, I guess, would be one way to put it. They had like good stuff in the house, anything from Neil Diamond to like the Woodstock soundtrack album, and they were always listening to music in the house and always in the car. The first thing I really got into was Elton John.
Okay.
I'm talking, this is like 71, 72. Just hearing it on the radio, when he started to break in America. So the first records I ever was asking my parents to buy me were Elton John records. But my first thing that was mine that my parents didn't want anything to do with was Kiss. That was when I bought Kiss Alive in 1975. I had like $7 to buy my dad a birthday present, but Kiss Alive was out.
Easy choice.
So I bought Kiss Alive and I gave it to my dad for his birthday, and he handed it back to me. I said, thank you very much. But yeah, Kiss was the first thing for me.
Gotcha. Frank, what about you?
Oh, with me, for those of you who don't know, the drummer of Anthrax, Charlie Benanti, we're actually related. He's my uncle. He doesn't like to say that because he's 3 years older than me. And I was very lucky to be in a house with Charlie because he was always musical, and I always loved that about him. And he very much got me into it. It's all in my book, available at Frank Bello. Yeah. So, yeah, and it was Kiss for me too. It was Kiss Alive. I remember Charlie got it before I did, Kiss Alive. And when he opened the record, I said, what the hell is it? My eyes were open, oh my God. And then we heard it, I was in love. It was it. That was what I wanted to do. It just took off from there.
Nice. Frank, did you start off playing bass? Was that your first instrument?
No, I was a very bad rhythm guitar player. And it's funny enough, Charlie was one of the first people. We were jamming songs, and I was playing the bass parts on rhythm guitar. So Charlie would say, he'd just say, why don't you switch over to bass? You're playing the bass parts anyway. And then when I switched to the bass, it just clicked in. It was just, I was playing it right, and they went forward. So, I still play rhythm guitar, but bass is always my love.
How old when you?
13.
Okay.
13.
Scott, what about you? Was guitar your first?
Yeah, I started taking lessons probably I was 9, something like that. So, yeah. Well, really, it's the only thing I can actually play. I can keep time on a drum kit, but I'm not really any good. I can't play it.
So did you take lessons for a long time?
No. A couple of months into taking lessons, probably like 6 months in, I just really wasn't seeing eye to eye with my guitar teacher because I just wanted to learn how to play songs. You know, I would say, show me how to play, a whole lot of love. I just wanted to learn songs, and you gotta learn theory, you gotta learn learn how to read, and he'd give me homework, and I'd have to write charts. And
Too much like school.
I was like, this isn't fun. Playing along the albums is fun. All this other crap, which of course I wish I would have done, because I'd like to be able to sight read music. Sure, it would be awesome. But when you're 10 years old, you just want to play. And as soon as I was able to get the electric guitar, which was the reason I was taking lessons, because my parents wouldn't buy me an electric, and we had some really old, dusty nylon string acoustic that was in our house. So that's what I played on for like 6 months. And then my teachers told my parents, he's taking this very seriously. I think it's safe to say if you buy an electric guitar, it's not just going to collect dust and all that. So my dad took me out and bought me a used Fender Tele Deluxe. And as soon as I had that electric guitar, I was like, I don't want lessons anymore. And they were like, we just bought you the guitar, you're going to quit. I'm like, no, I'm the opposite. I'm like doubling down on it. I just don't want to sit and do homework. I want to do my own thing.
No, I completely hear you. It's the same with me. I already started learning songs. I had a neighbor, my mother was a classically trained pianist, so she could teach me songs like guitar. She taught me Sunshine in Your Blood and a couple other things. My neighbor taught me Crazy Train. And then my parents started getting me into lessons, and the dude's teaching me, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and give me homework. I'm like, God, dude, I want to learn how to play fucking Rain and Blood.
I would say this, if there's any beginners here, learn theory,
Yeah.
learn how to read music,
This is a bad
and
example.
write music.
This is a bad
Because
example.
like I said, I wish I would have spent the time then doing that, because now it's 20 times harder. Like trying to learn, I don't know half the chords I'm playing. And then I gotta look them up, and it's so dumb, I don't even know what name chord this is.
That's why there's YouTube.
What about you, Frank? Did you take a lot of lessons? Or?
I'd started to take, as Scott did, I started to take lessons when I was around 13, and I went in the Bronx growing up. Used to come to my Uncle Joe's Deli, work in there, go to the lessons. They were $35 each. That's a lot of money in those days. So $35 was a lot of hours in that deli. So this guy, I go in there, I was jamming Rush. I was jamming all this stuff already at home. And this guy wanted to teach me A, B, B. I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, dude, we're getting on with this. And I wanted to learn songs, and I went, just like Scott. So this guy was doing that, he was raping me with the money. So I gave up, and I 4 lessons out, and I said, I'm not into this anymore. So I just went on my own. That's the way to go.
Yeah. Scott, talk about the Anthrax. Not listen. We don't have to go.
I don't have my book here, but you could get it on Amazon. Or anywhere books are sold.
All right, here.
Yeah, there's one of them. Okay.
We're in the corner, by the way. If you guys haven't seen us yet, we're in the corner hidden.
It's hard to turn that into a quick. I mean, what do you? Just be more
Was it high
specific.
school?
They hate this panel.
They're like, who the fuck is this guy?
I don't like these guys.
So like, who's the
If we
fat
can
bald
sneak
guy?
out,
We
if
get
we
the
can
fat
sneak
bald
out,
guy on
they
the
see
stage.
us. If we just sneak out now.
It's like those guys didn't play Jason.
Where do they go?
All right,
It's
okay.
okay. No one's doing it. It's fine. I'm starting.
So was it high school? When was it? When did the...
Yeah, right out of high school. I graduated in '81, like June of '81. I graduated, and in July of '81, Anthrax started. It wasn't like some master plan. We just happened. Danny Lilker and I, the original bass player, we had gone to high school together, and he was in a band called White Heat, and I always wanted to start a band with him because he was the best musician I knew. He was an amazing player, guitar, bass, could write songs, had perfect pitch, and so we go to school together every day. We jam every single day. But he was in a band that was actually already playing shows like in Manhattan, which was a big deal in Queens. Like a band playing original music in Manhattan, and so I used to always say to him all the time, like as soon as White Heat, that was his band, I'd say as soon as White Heat breaks up, we're going to start a band called Anthrax. He had learned about Anthrax in school, we just go, and he was like, White Heat's not breaking up. And then a couple of months later, White Heat broke up. And July 18th, 1981, Danny and I jammed with some other of our friends, you know, where we grew up in Bayside. And it just, something about it clicked enough. It's not like we had our own songs. We were only playing Maiden, Priest, and ACDC. But something about it just felt good in the room. And when we were done, I said, let's make this the band. Let's be Anthrax. This felt good, and everybody was in. None of those people, except for Danny, made it to Fistful of Metal. But that was the official first day of calling it Anthrax.
Gotcha. Frank, how did you join up?
I was a technician for the band, roadie. I was a roadie. So when I say that loosely, as far as I couldn't change strengths, I really helped them lift gear. Is what I really did. And I was young, 17, Guido from the Bronx, and I just really showed up and hung out with my friends. They were my friends. That's what happened. And you know, I played on the side, and I knew all the songs. And when the opportunity came up, because I was friends with Danny, so it was kind of weird. I didn't want to take his place, but I figured if somebody else is going to take this one, I might as well try too. So I got the audition. I was very nervous, really scared, even though I knew they were all my friends. And it just worked out. I auditioned and got the band, just like that.
You guys just wrapped the U.S. leg 40th anniversary. What did it talk about what it means to you guys for a thrash band from New York City to still be making music and still be playing and still have this longevity in music? How's it feel?
It feels great. It should. You know, a long time ago, I couldn't tell you when, but at some point, we were able to call our own shots. And, you know, we've never been a band where anyone ever creatively tried to tell us what to do. You know, from day one, we've always just done our own thing. But then at some point, something happened where, you know, I don't know if it's because you connect with enough people around the planet or, you know, enough people come to your shows, but you're able to just kind of call your own shots and do things the way you want to do them on your schedule and all that. And we've been able to do that for a really long time. And you know, to be in a band, I think that's really all you can ask for. You know, there's nobody but us guys in the group who have any say over anything we do, and it's just to be able to do that for so long as your job. You know what I mean? It feels really great, and I think, you know, for all of us too, we've all been doing this. We're all been doing this for the same reason, really, since the beginning. It's because we get in a room, and you know, even now we get in a room. Frankie and Charlie and I were in LA a couple of months ago working on new songs, and we were at this little studio doing demos. And you know, you go in there kind of at the beginning of the day, you didn't have anything, and you were walking out of there 5 hours later, and we got 2 or 3 new arrangements, and we're putting bass and guitar riffs down, and we're all smiling about it and banging our heads. And it's the same thing we were doing back in 1982. You know, it still puts a smile on my face to do this. If it ever became not fun, I guess that would be the message that maybe you shouldn't do it anymore. But I still just do it because I like to be in a room and play in my band.
Yeah. What about you, Frank?
Repeat the question.
40 years anniversary, man. How's it feel to have this kind of longevity in music?
Well, first you say, I find it just crazy to think a thrash band from New York, right? Take that and say, wow, it's a thrash band from New York still making music 40 years in. Yeah, we can pat ourselves in the back. I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful for that. Just being a musician, making a living, and feeding my family with this stuff, that alone. I think we've had a great ride. I think it's been, the fan base keeps growing, which is wonderful. But for me, I'm amazed. I think when we played Yankee Stadium in this band, that really made me realize, like, this is a ride and a half. And I can't believe a thrash band, a guy from the Bronx, Queens, Yankee fans. I was there all the time, and we get to play as an art form. It was incredible. It's still great, and I just think every day I'm really grateful for it. I really am. So it's been a great ride, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Awesome. Scott, you mentioned something about how you did it your way. You know, again, as a big horror guy, comic guy myself, I always, growing up, really appreciated that in a time where a lot of metal and thrash bands took themselves very seriously, you guys really did your own thing. You were not afraid to embrace the realness that is you, with the comic books and Stephen King. And what I wonder, and what I've kind of always wondered, did you ever get any industry people trying to talk you out of that, trying to say, no, be a little more serious, take the jams off, take the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle off the guitar? Did that ever happen?
No. The only time I can remember after we did Bring the Noise, and that blew up, and right after that we changed record labels. We had been on Island Records for all those years in the 80s, from Spreading through the Attack of the Killer Bees. And then we went to Elektra after that. And Elektra really wanted us to do another rap song because we were coming off Bring the Noise on the big world tour we did together with Public Enemy, and it had done really well. So I don't blame Elektra at the time for saying, like, well, do you guys have any ideas for another rap song? Because we think we would do a great job marketing that for you and all that. And we were like, no, we don't. We're not a rap band. The song wasn't even ours. It was a cover, of Bring the Noise that we did together with Public Enemy. But we were like, if we have one, we will be sure to let you know. And they were a little adamant about it at the time, not with us personally, but they were on our manager, Johnny Z. They were kind of up his butt about it a little bit, like it would be really great if we could get a rap song. And I don't know if you remember back at that time, there was this record called, it was a movie called Judgment Night, and they did the soundtrack for that record, and it was all collaborations between hip hop and metal bands. And then we got offered, I don't even remember who they asked us. Actually, they didn't have anyone specific in mind. They just said, would Anthrax collaborate with someone for this record? And we said no, because we had already done it with Public Enemy. We were like, why would we do something less than what we'd already done? And our lecturer wasn't thrilled with that either, but like, hey, look, you can't force ourselves to do something that isn't us. We're not just gonna write a rap song. We did that already too with I'm the Man. That's our version of a rap song. So, that was really, in my memory, the only time where creatively someone tried to, not make us do it, but at least say, hey, what do you guys think?
And that's where you lose. That's where you fall into that trap. Yep. If you're not smart enough, you fall into that trap where people take over your creativeness, and that's where young bands lose. And that's where you guys be really adamant about being yourself. I told you guys before, it's got to come from here, right? Don't listen to the outside. What's out of here, and that's what you put on the record. So that's what it's about.
Hopefully, my last one, and then these guys will ask some questions. And you brought it up. I'm sure it's been talked about, but how did the Public Enemy collaboration come about? I know you were.
It was all the record company. They said, we really want you to collaborate with Public Enemy.
They insisted. We had no choice.
No, they actually, funnily enough, Island Records, after we had done the song, the track was done, we recorded Bring the Noise when we were recording Persistent Time back in like late '89 or early '90, and the track was done, and you know, of course, we're all flipping out over it and how killer it is. And Island Records told our manager, they said, "Well, yeah, this is great and all, but how are we supposed to put this out? We're going to put it on your album, and then Public Enemy's going to have it on their album at Def Jam, and how are we going to do this? And we don't want to have to work with another label." And Johnny Z basically told them, "Well, if you're not doing it, we're just going to put it out ourselves, so it doesn't matter what you think." And but yeah, the beginning of the genesis of it was we were huge fans of theirs. From the first record, we had friends who worked at Def Jam in the city, and we would always get advanced copies of stuff that was coming. And our friend George Somers had gotten us, I think, an advanced copy of the first record of Yo Bummer's Show. And I remember hearing Chuck's voice for the first time and just thinking, that's the heaviest vocal performance I've ever heard in my life. And I imagined his voice and my guitar together. And then their next record comes and they name check Anthrax in the song Bring the Noise. And that came out of another friend of ours, Scott Koenig, God rest his soul. He worked at Def Jam, and he had a Kerrang magazine. It was a metal mag back in the 80s from Britain. It was open on his desk in the office, and there were pictures of us from the Castle Donington Festival. And we're in front of 80,000 people, and I'm wearing a Public Enemy shirt. Chuck D saw that on his desk one day. So it was kind of like a lot of mutual admiration going on. Chuck came to see us at the Beacon Theater in 1987, and that was the first time we actually met, became friendly, and from that point, you know, we just kept saying we want to do something, we want to do something. And then when we were recording Persistence, that's when we recorded the arrangement for it and sent it to Chuck. So what do you think? And the rest is history.
Awesome. All right, guys, what do you think? Who's got a question?
So always that first one. All right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Jason, guys, what are your favorite last years? What is the best experience you have?
We have a bunch of them. We were talking about this the other day at meet and greet. One of my favorite times, a lot of us, we got to tour with Iron Maiden in South America, go on their private plane with Bruce, the singer, flying the plane. You don't get that a lot in life, right? It was one of those great times. When you're doing it, you know how lucky you are, and you say, "Oh my God, I'm on tour with one of my all-time favorite bands, and the singer is flying us." You don't hear that a lot, right? So it was just one of those. And then when we got off the plane, they police escort to the hotel. There was no traffic because they cleared all the traffic. You know, there was no problems. It was one of those just perfect times. I don't know if we'll ever have that again, but that's my favorite.
Not unless Maiden doesn't get on the plane.
Of course.
Sitting on the plane with your Iron Maiden cups. Everything was branded Iron Maiden on the plane. I have a stack of these cups.
I have those too. I did.
We'd be drinking whiskey from my Iron Maiden cup.
They served Trooper beers, remember? They did.
It was a 747 that only had maybe 70 people on it total between the bands and the crews. You know, and those planes could hold 400 people, so it was, you know, this big giant empty plane filled with a bunch of idiots. Just like, yeah, it was unbelievable. It was yeah. I would have never in a million years, that's not even something I would have made up as a kid, like that story. Like, could you imagine? Like, who would have ever thought that could happen? Maiden even had a second plane on that run because they had the giant 747, and then they had a little private jet that Steve Harris mostly would use to get to the next city, because it would take a lot longer with the 747 because all the gear would have to get loaded in the 747. So a lot of times with the big plane, you play the show, they would load the gear that night and then you would fly the next day. But sometimes Harris needed to get to the next city because his football team from England, West Ham, his favorite soccer team, would have a match and he'd have to get there in time to see it. So they had a second jet just on hold for when he needed to go watch the football match, which, I mean, you know, hey, when you're Iron Maiden, you can do
I would do it. We would all do that, right? We would all do it. I would totally do it.
If I had the wherewithal to be like, well, the Yankees are playing at noon tomorrow, I gotta get there, you know.
Scott, want to take a plane with me? Come on, let's go. That's what it would be like. We'd do it in a second.
It was the most mind-blowing 5 weeks of certainly my time in this band. It's just unbelievable.
It's great. That's one of the great times. Like, again, I talk about this a lot. The Yankee Stadium show was very big for us as Yankee fans. So there's been some great moments in our career when you look back. We had a good run there, and still to continue. We just look toward the future. More great ones.
Frank, you get to go in the cockpit with Bruce when they're landing in New York.
That's a good story. So yeah, so I live in New York, obviously. So they're flying home, and they just happened. Iron Maiden are flying home. Everybody else is going. He's going to LA.
From Brazil back to.
They're going to JFK. Lucky me. Only guy in Anthrax going to JFK. Hey, Frank, want to fly with us? I say, I'm going crazy, right? So I'm sitting there in my Iron Maiden seat with my trooper beer, and I'm just talking. I'm talking to one of the crew guys, and the flight attendant comes up. Frank, Bruce would like to come up to the cockpit. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't want me to come up there. Yeah, he does. I'm good, because I'm scared. I don't like things coming at me. I know what the plane is like. I don't want to see how Bruce flies. I'm scared. I'm just being honest. I don't want to ruin the vibe I have with Bruce. So, long story short, third time around, I had to say, you sure he wants me? Yeah, he wants you. So I go and walk up the stairs, and then meanwhile, I'm passing through the aisle. There's Steve Harris, Adrian Smith. Hey guys, and they're wondering, where am I going? Okay. So I go into the cockpit. I walk, the door opens, you have Bruce Dickinson and another pilot, and there's papers flying everywhere for flight patterns. They couldn't find the right flight. I just so happened to walk in at the wrong time. They couldn't find the right flight pattern for JFK. I'm fucking scared, man. I'm gonna fucking ruin this thing. Iron Maiden, Anthrax, dead. You know, bass player. I was so freaking scared. And Bruce looks back as he's doing the flight. Oh, perfect timing. I'm like, oh, I went in the wrong time. So he goes, oh, have a seat, mate. And he's still looking through. Long story short, we got the flight pattern. And then it was just the most surreal moment going. I've never done it. I don't know if anybody else has done that. Been in the cockpit with Bruce Dickinson. I'm flying in. It was incredible. It was just great. He wrote in, and I remember when we landed, they don't do this for Anthrax, they do it for Iron Maiden. The fire department, you know how they come out when like vessels blow up and stuff? They came out to celebrate Iron Maiden with the water and all that stuff. They did this whole celebration for Iron Maiden. We never did that. It was a great time in my life. I'll never forget it.
Great question. Who's next? Right in the back, Gary.
As a fellow musician and a long-time metal fan, it seems that the scene has lost a lot of its mainstream scene spotlight. The fact that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of newer bands that are headlining major festivals anymore. What do you see as the future of the scene? Or are there any newer bands on the radar that you see that carry the scene in the future?
If I was the mayor of heavy metal, I would have to have answers to that. But that's King Diamond, actually. He's the mayor of heavy metal. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I suppose people ask the same questions every decade or so. Like, they think, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? You know, I don't know. I seemingly see, you know, when you say new bands, you know, you got to remember it takes years for a band to get to a point where they can headline a festival. So, you know, we just played Blue Ridge in Virginia, and Ghost closed the stage we were on that night. We were on right before them. Ghost is still a new band. I mean, you know, they've been around, what, 10, 15, not even 15 years probably. So, you know, maybe, you know, Ghost will be doing that for the next 20 years. I don't know. They definitely have a much younger audience. Outside of them, off the top of my head, it's hard to think of new stuff. You know, you generally see a lot of the same kind of festival headliners, whether it's Maiden or Metallica, or, you know, there's a Sabbath reunion, or, you know, I guess, you know, maybe the questions you're asking is actually like, who's going to be the next Iron Maiden, or who's the next Metallica? And I don't think anyone will ever. Then again, I never thought Iron Maiden would be as big as they became, and certainly never thought Metallica was ever going to be, when none of us had a dime in our pockets, you know, in 1983. So, you know, it's hard to say. You know, there's a band that I'm really into. They've been around 8 years. They got 3 or 4 albums called Turnstile. They're totally blowing up right now. I can totally see them, you know, if they keep making records the way they're making them, you know, they'll be headlining huge shows soon. Slipknot is still a new band. They've only been around 20 years, you know. They still got another 20 years, seemingly, if they keep it together, that they'd be headlining, you know. So I don't know. It's a weird question.
I think when I see younger guys and younger girls come up with bands, I think there's a hunger for it. So there will be people rising to the top, headlining these shows. It's just going to take a little bit longer, you know. So I don't worry about it as much as I used to. Oh, where the headline is, where the headline is. I think it's going to happen because there's a hunger for this music, and it keeps turning over. We see a lot of kids in our audience now turning over. Parents come bringing their kids. It's nice to see that. And brothers and sisters turning them on to us. So I think there's a hunger, and the cream will rise to the top. It might take some time. You guys might, my young man right here, you guys might rise to the top. Stick to it, right? You could be the next one. So get it done, right?
Kiss will still be doing shows in like 4 years from now, so absolutely.
Hey Larry, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me? So, no, not for you.
Oh, I'll talk to you all day.
Yeah, you do. Hey guys, how you doing? So you just mentioned Slipknot. So in 2016, you guys played Ozfest meets Knotfest. Remember that show?
Yeah.
What was it like playing on Pirate Ship? For you guys had to play on the Amon Amarth stage. Do you remember how? Scott, you don't remember?
In LA?
Yeah, at San Bernardino.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Excuse my language, but that day was pretty fucked because, not because of Amon Amarth, but because of the night before was the Ozfest day, and something happened where their production didn't get out until really, really late, early in the morning, and it caused the Slipknot day to start late. So everything got screwed up because the load-in was so late. Everybody's set times got cut. I remember we were supposed to play 45 to 50 minutes. They're telling us you're only playing half an hour. It's like, so the whole day was screwed. Like every band had to cut their sets. So I don't have the most fond memories overall of that show, which is nobody's fault other than for whatever reason. I don't know why it took so long to get the Ozfest production out, and not whoever was production managing that obviously didn't have it together. But I remember the 30 whole minutes we were on stage was fun, and there was a giant pit while we were playing and all that. But yeah, that was just it was kind of an anomaly because that generally doesn't happen on festivals like that, where it would be so screwed up where like every band has to cut their show.
Way to bring me down.
I just thought it was great when you sit here and you see like Scott trying to start a pit. There's like a giant Viking vessel in the middle of the stage, and it was just like one of those surreal moments because you just see a band I watched for. I mean, I see you guys in the Coliseum, which just started in 8 or 8 years, right? And just to watch you, saying something really cranky about how you guys got the keys to the city of New York. That big four, and I had a pleasure being there for that show. And it was just amazing. It just, that's right, you were saying, how do you feel about that one? The keys to New York, the crash point.
It wasn't quite that big. It was Anthrax Day in the Bronx.
That's right.
Is what it was. They didn't actually give us the key to the city of New York. If that was the case, I'd be wearing that thing around my neck. Are you kidding me? Like, by the way, have you seen this? Yeah, like 50 times. I know, but look again. We got the key to the city. Like, no, that day was unbelievable. It was again, one of those moments that you just, not that not that I didn't think we would ever be in a position, you know, success-wise, where we could be able to play Yankee Stadium, but it's just that Yankee Stadium hardly ever does shows. I figured if we're ever going to be on a stadium show in the New York area, it would have been out in Jersey, you know, in the Meadowlands. That's usually where the concerts were. Even Shea would do more shows than Yankee Stadium. So when Metallica's management called and said we're thinking about Big Four in New York at Yankee Stadium, I told our manager, I said, man, don't even mess with me. Like, you can't tell me that, and then like a month from now, we find out like it's Jersey, or worse, Shea Stadium. Like, I actually said if we play Shea, I would be boycotting it outside with a sign that said Anthrax won't play where losers play. Sorry, I'm a Yankee fan. This has nothing to do with music or horror.
You can walk out.
But no, of course it ended up being Yankee Stadium, and for a kid who'd been going to Yankee games since like 1970, yeah, just what a crazy, surreal, unbelievable thing. I'll give you 1 2-minute story. We're standing on the back of the stage waiting to go on, and like the intro is running, and I get jitters sometimes before big shows, but I had never felt so nervous about walking out on a stage in my life, to the point where my hands felt like they were locked up. Like, and I had my guitar on and I'm trying to warm up, and I was so just tight that I was flipping to walk out. And my wife was like trying to calm me down, and Randy Johnson was standing there, the pitcher. And because even when he was still playing baseball, he's a rock photographer. He's actually an amazing photographer. And so he's up on the stage. So I walked over to him and I said, hey man, you've pitched in this building before. You've been in some incredible high pressure situations in your life. Like, what did you do when, and he goes, I just put my head down and I go to work. And just that total practical answer made so much sense, because that's all I've ever thought. And I thought, man, really, I go to work every day. And so that's what I did. I put my head down and we walked out and we started Caught in a Mosh. And tears, just like the first 45 seconds of that song, I was headbanging and crying all the time, because it was such a release of just this unbelievable like energy of the fact that I'm looking at a Yankee Stadium. I mean, it just seemed so unreal to me. And then I had looked it up. Before that Big Four show, the last 2 shows they had done in like 12 years or something was Billy Joel and the Pope. Something like that. So yeah, they don't do shows there very often. So it was just so amazing that we got to do it.
Yeah, well, I think we have time for one more. Go ahead, Negative Approach. Great band, by the way.
Thank you. Not mine.
Oh no, I know who they are.
My question is, so I play in the block where the old CBGBs was in New York once, and it's unfortunately a Patagonia or whatever it is now, or whatever.
John Barbados.
Right. So I've tried to figure out for years what the CBC was like, watching videos, looking at posters and all that. What was it like? Because I know that both you guys were around that scene, playing shows in that area and all that. What was it like back then? Mid-80s, CBs, that area.
I'm not going further. Can you still smell it? Because I played there too, and I can still smell it. Don't use the bathroom.
There was no shower.
Don't go in that bathroom.
The bathroom was a throne. It was just a toilet. Nothing.
Yeah,
People would just walk in and look at you in the toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, it just smelled like pee. Okay.
It was a lot of fun. If we were home, that period of time between like 84 and 87, if we were home, I was there on Sunday, always. I would be at the hardcore matinees on Sundays. For those of you who don't know, CBGBs used to do a hardcore matinee on Sunday. You know, the show would run from like, let's say 1 until 6 or something like that, and they would have other stuff going on at night. And it was always $5 to get in. So yeah, especially through '85 and '86 where we weren't touring yet that much, we were there a lot. Like I would, every week I would just go on Sunday afternoon, go to see the show, and then like go to Wowow in Chinatown. Each 2 weeks we would go home.
When you walked in, the energy was just incredible. It was hot, sweaty. Everything you want from that place was there. The energy just took over. And then really, you went home with it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was unlike anything, certainly in the metal scene at the time. It was just this really close-knit community of, 100, 200 people who, really truly lived on the Lower East Side and lived in squats. Most of the bands, Master Plan, Chromax, on and on, Murphy's Law, all those guys, they lived it 24/7. I was still living in my mom's apartment in Queens, and I took the train to go to those shows. But these guys were, they were living in squats and living on the streets and playing hardcore music. And they accepted us. We heard for years you can't go to CBG because if you have long hair, the skinheads will beat your ass. But by the time we got there, late '83, early '84, started showing up at shows. Nobody cared about that so much anymore. Some of our skinhead friends told us, yeah, if you would have came here 2 years ago, probably we would have beat you up. But now, nobody cares anymore. But yeah, they accepted us, and go to, once in a while I'd get the balls up to go down in that pit down front and to dance, and it was just an incredible scene, just a moment in time. Because not like it got so big after that, it couldn't sustain itself anymore because it blew up. The shows you couldn't even have this music anymore. It was amazing. Just so much fun, so many friends, people I'm just still in touch with. Almost 40 years later, it was great.
Great question.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, but since we are at a horror convention, we got one more. Go ahead. Not take that.
Long time fan, thank you very much for doing what you guys do. Keep doing it. Promote it. The question before about that show, 10% show. Right. Just the set plan, 45 minutes, some songs would be for musician. Now you gotta change that.
I don't remember specifically, but it's pretty easy to just go out. And, we didn't really have a choice.
It's numbers of that. How long a song is and how long it has, and all that stuff. It goes over the best. You can't cut calling them out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Again, I'm worried.
All right, we are at a horror convention, so Scott, start with you. Top 3 movies.
The beer till morning.
3, just 3.
Okay. Well, The Thing is my favorite. The Thing is my favorite of all time. I'm gonna go Carpenter again with Halloween. And can Jaws be considered a horror movie? Jaws.
Right. 3 is hard, man.
I know it's 3 is
All right, I'll go Jaws first because that's the best movie I've ever seen. God, Creature from the Black Lagoon. I keep watching that; it just gets better every time I see it. It's tough. I gotta go Thing. Okay, I gotta go.
Hey, everybody, like I showed you before, make sure, grab the books, right? Fathers, Brothers, and Sons, Surviving Anguish, Abandonment, and Anthrax, Frank Bello. And then Scott Ian's got On the Man, the story of that guy from Anthrax, plus the one with your stories from the road.
Access all areas.
Yep. So check those out. You can get them. They have them downstairs. You got them up
I
the
don't have it
table.
here, no.
Frank, you got yours?
I have my book here, available, Frank Bello booth.
Hurry up.
Speakable.
Hurry up, go get them. Guys, big round of applause for Anthrax.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys.